For some people, being average is the worst thing imaginable. To them, a life of mediocrity and never being remembered is a life not worth living, apparently. These people do anything and everything humanly possible to stand out from the crowd, whether it's embracing the weirdness they were born with or seeking out extreme modifications to make sure they get noticed. These unique people are turning heads wherever they go. Ready to meet them? Let's get it on! Kalash Singh. Don't believe everything you hear. Kalash Singh desperately wanted a son, an heir to look after the family when he became worm food. After giving birth to a daughter, he sought the advice of a priest who told him that in order to sire this highly prized son, he must forego washing. We feel sorry for his poor wife. After 37 years and another 6 daughters, he's still yet to have a baby boy and wash. He spent most of his days sweating it out in sweltering heat and smoking marijuana in the evenings in an attempt to mask his pungent body odor that could strip the paint off your living room wall. He's stiff competition for Iranian Amu Haji, a guy who hasn't bathed in over 60 years who enjoys eating rotten meat in the form of roadkill and smokes cigarettes made from animal manure. It's enough to make you sick. Larry Gomez. Sometimes being unique can't be helped. Larry Gomez was born with an extremely rare condition called hypertrichosis, causing him to develop thick black hair on 98% of his body. There have been fewer than 50 cases documented ever, with a likelihood of it occurring in just 1 in 10 billion people. Remarkably, 15 of these documented cases include his brother, sister, and cousins. Larry is officially the hairiest there has ever been, and has a Guinness World Record to prove it. Instead of succumbing to the teases and taunts that plagued his youth, he's made a life for himself, starring on television and the silver screen. He has to shave his face with clippers every few weeks as the hair on his eyelids grows so long it partially blocks his vision. As it turns out, the ladies love a furry man, and Larry has hinted that there are an endless list of ladies looking to tame the heart of the real-life Wolfman. Carel Tereshin. Carel Tereshin is a Russian bodybuilder that grew up idolizing the spinach-munching, damsel-in-distress saving sailor Popeye, and decided to model his entire physique around the lovable cartoon character. Heavy weights in the gym and smashing down protein-rich meals 8 times a day was taking too long for Carel to achieve the body look he wanted, so he decided to take a little shortcut in the form of an oil called synthol. By injecting a small amount into his arms, he found that his biceps grew an inch overnight. This soon turned into a way of life, with liters of the substance injected into his arms to achieve a size so massive they don't even look real, instead resembling beach balls. He's become an Instagram sensation and is a pretty big deal in Russia, with people stopping him in the street for a photo opportunity. He even starred in the music video of pop singer Sultan Uragan. Nuen Van Chen. Lockdowns courtesy of the global pandemic have had a peculiar side effect. Many people have decided to let themselves go, growing long hair and beards now that office grooming guidelines have gone out the window. But Nuen Van Chen was letting his locks do their own thing 8 decades before it was cool. He follows a faith called Dua that is almost hardly practiced in the modern world anymore, otherwise known as the coconut religion. Believers are convinced that you must be what you were born with, untouched, and Nuen has taken it to the extreme. He claims that if he cuts his hair or even washes it, he would die. Over 80 years of steadfast devotion has given him a massive, thick, 5-meter-long dreadlock, which looks like a vine that Tarzan would happily swing from as he makes his way through the jungle to find Jane. Parrotman Richards. Ted Richards has parrot fever, and no, it's not bird flu. Turns out, Ted really just likes birds, so much he wants to become one. He has colorful feathers tattooed on his face and now goes by the name of Ted Parrotman after legally changing his name by deed poll. He jokes that the hardest part of his transformation was changing his name on Facebook. He's even gone so far as to have his ears surgically removed for a more authentic look, but overlooked one important issue. He now has nothing to hold the arms of his glasses. He then had a subsequent surgery to insert synthetic lumps under his scalp just so he could read the newspaper. He ran the risk of potentially going blind in order to have his eyes colored with ink to more resemble his fine-feathered friends. Lizardman Sprague. For Eric Sprague, the decision to make the shift from Homo sapiens to the Lizardman was a sudden and abrupt one. Unlike many extreme body modifiers, he started off a clean skin and quickly set himself to the task of looking as reptilian as possible. A few years and 700 hours in a tattoo chair later, his entire body was covered with green scales, looking like a dragon straight out of a fairy tale. Next up was a split bifurcated tongue, giving him a definitively snake-like appearance. From there, dental work to file down his his teeth into sharp points and bulbous subdermal implants underneath his eyebrows completed his ghastly transformation. He doesn't regret his decision and enjoys his line of work as an artist. You can find him hanging objects from his many piercings and swallowing sharpened swords. His signature trick is pushing a corkscrew into his nose, out of his mouth, and then into a hole in his earlobe. Don't try this at home, kids. Nilanji Patel. Rapunzel had flowing golden hair so long it was arguably the hero of her story, allowing Prince Charming to scale up the wall into the tower and save her. Nilanji Patel is proof that they do it better in the subcontinent, boasting hair 6 1/4 feet long. It all started after a bad experience in a hair salon when she was only 6 years old. Now, 11 years later, her hair has grown unfettered, with her parents supportive of her lifestyle choice, as well as being happy to pay a small fortune in hair care products, shampoo, and conditioner. The trouble is that now her hair is so long, it trails behind her on the ground like a train on a black wedding dress. She has to wear high-heeled shoes just to keep her luscious locks off the ground. She's now an international celebrity, holding the Guinness record for longest hair on a teenager, eyeing off China's Xi Jinping and her 18.5-foot head of hair. Sridhar Chilal. Long nails can be cool. After all, everyone's favorite of the X-Men is Wolverine. Sridhar Chilal may not have adamantium claws, but he's the owner of the world's longest nails. He's been on television showcasing his bizarre appendages for the better part of 40 years. His nails have a combined length of 29 feet 10 inches. The weight of the nails has permanently disfigured his hand, losing all motor function and dexterity. When out in public, he wears a protective covering to keep them safe. He started growing his nails at 14 years old, but recently the crippling pain in his hand, arm, and neck from the weight of the nails was too much to take. The beautician did away with nail clippers, instead pulling out an angle grinder to chop off the nails. They were then donated to Ripley's Believe It or Not, forever on display in their museum in Times Square. Louis Pardone. All Will Ferrell had to do to star in the hit movie Elf was wear a pair of yellow leggings, a green tunic, and a little pointed hat. Luis Padrón had other plans. Not content with wearing costumes and prosthetics to merely play an elf, he wanted to become one. He's had over 40 cosmetic surgeries to date in order to undergo the extreme modifications needed to reach the pinnacle of metamorphosis, a magical elf from outer space. He explains that even as a young child, he knew he wanted to be an elf, in particular a space elf, a warrior of love and light, protecting the world from evil aliens. He used tales of fantasy to escape schoolyard bullying, and his fascination followed him into adult life. He's spent countless thousands on shaping his face for a smoother, more aquiline look, as well as reshaping his eyes to appear larger, more almond, and a permanent purple. Sadhu Amar Bharati. We've all been there, waving your arm up in the air, trying to get your teacher's attention in class so long that a dull ache and pins and needles start to set in. Multiply this unpleasant feeling by 43 years and you might be able to imagine how Sadhu Amar Bharati feels. He's had his arms up in the air for over 4 decades, paying respect to Hindu deity Shiva, never lowering it even once. He left his job, wife, and children in order to further his devotion by living a life devoid of luxury. His arm looks like a gnarled tree branch covered in dry skin. The muscle is wasted away, the joints permanently disfigured and fused together, and at the end of this inhuman appendage lies his hand. He looks like he's holding some weird object, but those are just the twisted, mangled fingers and black, uncut, claw-like nails that occupy the space where his hand used to be.